Hello everyone, welcome back in my another amazing podcast and welcome back to podcast. Today's episode is going to be very inspiring because we have joined by an amazing guest named Mr. Carl Morris. So, Mr. Carl Morris is the head of Carfax College, Oxford, and a key driving force behind Carfax education and Carfax private tutors. So his work has guided students, supported families, and has applied many people. So, in today's conversation, we will explore Carl's journey, the mission behind Carfax. And thank you so much, Mr. Carl. It's very great for us to have you in today's our podcast. So, first of all, for starting my podcast, so for listeners who are hearing you for the first time, so could you please introduce yourself to them?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, my name is Carl, and um, as Fatima said, I had previously worked for a company called Carfax Education in Carfax College, and now I run my own businesses with the mission of widening access to education to students all over the world. Um, so that's me. Would you like me to go through my journey and how I got to where I am now?
Yeah, sure. Could you can describe your journey?
Yeah, so I education was always a really big part of my life. I'm from the UK, and I always enjoyed school, or I always enjoyed science and maths, let's say. But I didn't really have an aspiration to do anything particularly academic. I thought I wanted to do something very practical. I really wanted to be a forensic scientist when I was younger. And I met a teacher whilst I was doing my A levels who said, have you thought about applying to Oxford or Cambridge in the UK? And I honestly hadn't. And so on the advice of this teacher, I applied to Oxford, and I got in, and I had the most amazing time there. And I wanted to encourage more people who hadn't thought to apply to Oxford or Cambridge to apply. And so I did a lot of work working for charities and helping people apply to these very, very competitive universities. And but I didn't really want to be involved in education. I didn't really find education as a career that interesting. So I decided to become an accountant, and I learned a lot about business, and I learned a lot about how to run a company, how to solve problems within a company. But I also thought this maybe isn't the career for me. And so I went back to education, and I ended up working for Carfax, this company that was based in Dubai. And I worked for them for a few years, and I helped build out the programs, and I helped build out their business using this combination of skills that I had in the business and in the education world. And but then I decided that there was this gap, because we were working with only like the wealthiest families, the richest families, and I thought I would really like to see this sort of education be more accessible. And so that was when I set up a company called the Online School that was designed to be a more accessible education model with the same prestige and the same skill as what we were doing in Carfax. And then more recently, because we set up this company and we raised money for it, we raised $1 million. We had built a lot of technology. We'd learned a lot as a company. And so we set up my most recent company, EduCave, where what we're doing there is helping other people start their own business. Um, so that's my journey.
Okay, thank you so much. Your journey is so inspiring. So I have a question that what was the main purpose behind Carfax?
So the main purpose was to educate students on a one-to-one basis. So many of the staff in or the teachers, sorry, in 𝗕𝗢𝗪 had studied at Oxford or Cambridge, and Oxford or Cambridge have this very unique way of learning in at the university. You get taught one-to-one. So you get taught one student, one professor. And so the sort of mission behind 𝗕𝗪 was to bring this high level of contact time, this Oxford and Cambridge style education to more people and to a younger age. And then following that, the work that I did with the online school and the work that I do with 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗪 now is all built on that same idea, but to widen that access even more. So my sort of personal mission has always been to widen access to education as much as possible.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So, I think that Oxford and Carfax and Oxford College is so great. So, was there a specific moment that made you realize that education is your pathway?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because a lot of people say they always wanted to be a teacher or they always grew up to be a teacher, and that definitely wasn't me. I didn't always know I wanted to be a teacher, and even when I left university, I had a lot of people say maybe you should be a teacher because I liked working with children and I liked the education part of what I did, but I still didn't think it was for me, and I partly didn't think it was for me because I thought it doesn't change very much, and my like passion is really in making things change and making things different. And I felt like education is a bit standstill. And I actually moved to Dubai, um, thinking that I wouldn't stay in education. I thought I'll move there, I'll work in education for maybe like a year or two because I know the industry, but I'll go back to being an accountant probably. And it was when I came to Dubai and I started homeschooling families. So when I started working and moving from this model of helping you with your homework type thing, which is normally what tutors do, to I'm now teaching you everything, but we're doing it one to one and together. And this is where I realized it was my passion. And this is where I sort of fell in love with education because it had so much flexibility and I could teach every student in a different way, in a way that really worked for them. So that was my moment where I said, okay, this is interesting and I want to do more in this industry.
Okay, that's great. Like you have told that you started home tutoring. So who stands with you when you were doing home tutoring? So who supports you a lot?
Who supported me. The other tutors, when I first started, I'd never homeschooled someone before. I'd never been the entire education. I'd always been supporting your school education. And I really was supported by the other teachers I was working with at the time, who I often sought for advice. And I built out that network, and many of these people that supported me then still support me to this day. When I have ideas or I think that I want to try something new and different, these are usually the people I would go to and say, "Do you think this could work? What do you think about this idea?" And I think what I found helpful in support wasn't just people telling me this is good and this is helpful. I found people telling me this won't work as very helpful. So people coming to me and say, I had an idea and they'd say, well, I don't think this is going to work. And it's helpful in two ways. One, because it might really not have worked and it was good to test that idea. And the other was if I really believed it, I would fight for my idea and we would have this conversation and this sort of debate around which idea would work. Is it going to work or is it not going to work? And we would come out with a solution. So we would find that most ideas don't work the first time round. You have to solve you'll try something, you'll discover some problems, then you improve it, and you keep this iteration process. And having those people around me to be able to do that with has always been a big valuable asset for me.
Okay, that's great. Your personal life and your before life was so much inspiring, and your how teachers supported you and how you started career in teaching. That's so much great. So thank you so much. So I have a question that How, like, what has been the most rewarding part of your journey till now?
I think probably one of the most rewarding parts of my journey is because I've been doing this for so long now. I've been in education for about 10 years, is meeting students that I supported 10 years ago and seeing where they are now and seeing them and having them remember some of the lessons we did or some of the experiences that we had together. Um, that's really rewarding for me because my goal is to make every lesson I teach memorable. And if 10 years later a student remembers just one of my lessons, that's a huge, huge win for me. So I think this keeps me going, and this is inspiring to meet people who still remember me or feel like I had an impact on their education as a teacher.
Okay, that's so much great. Like it's so rewarding that who like for meeting students that whom you teach for 10 years. That's so rewarding, and like I think that your heart is so much kind, and you're so kind heart. So okay, so I have a next question. What do pay like? Can you share a memorable moment, student success from Carfax?
Yeah, so I think we used to work with students from all sorts of different backgrounds, and often when people are homeschooled, they are homeschooled for specific reasons, and it could be a choice. It could just be that the families want to move or they want a different style of education, but it also could be because school doesn't work for them. And so, very early on, I was often working with students who school just didn't work for them. They couldn't work in big classes, they would get distracted, and they just really didn't have a good time in a full school. And I still remember homeschooling a young girl, and she struggled with communicating with other students, but we had a very good relationship. She was very good with adults, and I remember working with her for about 2 years, where we were trying to get her ready to go back to a school and or traditional school. So we worked with her for 2 years. She was a brilliant student, really, really great in her science and maths. And she gets a place in the most competitive school in Dubai. And we were all a little bit worried. We were all thinking, oh, is this going to work? Is she going to have a good time in this school, or is she going to struggle? And she came back to us after a year just to say hello, and she was like a totally different person. She Everything we taught her in those 2 years about not just the academics. I think school is much more than just about what you learn in science and maths and things like that. It's about learning how to communicate and learning how to work with other students. And I think when she came back and she told us she was on the sports team, she loved working in groups, all these things that she struggled to do before, this was probably my most rewarding moment today.
Okay, thank you so much for your great answer. So I have one more question that what keeps you motivated when you teach so many students like 10 years, 20 years? What keeps you so much motivated after so many years in education?
I think I think I would never be motivated in education if things didn't change. And I think honestly, I think that for the most part, things don't change as much as they should. Um, but I think you can see the impact that you have. And I think if you are driving change, I don't think any one person will change all of education. It's just too big to be done by one person. And so I try not to focus on education as a whole. I focus on me and like my circle of people and the people I can influence and the people I can support. And I think if I can see impact on them, I can see development in the way I teach. I still want to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. So I want to know new things, and I want to change the way I work, and I want to assess what goes well and what doesn't go well. I think that's what keeps me motivated is this. I feel myself, I still improve. I've been doing this for 10 years and so I'm great and I don't need to improve anymore. I think the improvement keeps me engaged. But I also think that trying new things keep me engaged. So more recently, developments in AI and things like this, being able to play with those things with students is quite interesting. I mean, even me and you having this conversation here on StreamYard, this wouldn't have been able to be done 10, 15 years ago. So seeing these little changes in how things work and improving myself keeps me motivated.
Okay, that's amazing. It's amazing to see someone so dedicated to his education and helping students grow. So, what was a mistake? What was mistake taught you the biggest lesson in your career?
I think when you start your own business, so when I left Carfax and I started my own business, the online school, that's a very big learning curve to start your own thing, to not be working for someone else and kind of slightly be told what to do. When you're starting your own business, you're dependent entirely on yourself. And I think there are lots of mistakes that get made in that area. I think probably my biggest mistake was thinking in that phase where I was setting up the online school, in thinking I could solve all of the problems in education. It was thinking that one person will solve this. And that's evolved into what we do today in Educave, where we help lots of people. And so when 3, 4 years ago, if you'd have asked me, I'd have said I need to keep everything a secret and I don't want to collaborate with too many people because it's my idea and I need to bring my idea to the world. Now I have a totally different view. I feel like that was a mistake. Now I want to work with as many people as possible to help them deliver their vision for education, because I think that is the only way it will change. Education means something different to every single person. And I think I didn't quite realize that when I first set out. And now I realize, well, if education means something different to me than it does to you, then the only way that we will get to a future where it feels very personalized is if everyone is allowed to build their version of education. And so that's what we do now. We don't just build our version, we support other people building theirs. So that was probably my biggest mistake around collaboration.
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm so grateful to for I'm so grateful that I took out like you took out time to join us today and share your whole knowledge. That's so much grateful. So, what advice you give to someone starting a career education today?
I think I would say just start with an idea that and work towards it. Education is not something that is specific to a group or small group of people. Some people think of education as being something you do when you are younger and that's it. Education's happening all the time. Adults are changing careers, having to learn new skills. Education is this thing that comes along your entire life with you. Um, and because of that, you people always have ideas. People always have ideas about what could be done better, what could be done differently. You might have an idea about how the way you learn. And I think in the world that we live in now, where you can use digital tools to build things very, very easily, you should just build something. So you should just have an idea, build it and test it. Give it to your friends, give it to your family, see if this helps them, and then tweak it and change it. Do not think that you have to get things right first time in anything. When you build an idea, I will guarantee you won't get it right first time. But the people who are successful, they know this, but they get something out into the world quickly and then they tweak and they change, because you will never know what's wrong with it until other people are using it. But this also goes for careers. I think there's a lot of pressure on students to decide what they want to do. When I was younger, I wanted to be a forensic scientist. That never happened. When I left university, I wanted to be an accountant. That was useful and I enjoyed it, but I don't want to be an accountant anymore. And now I work in education, but every single skill that I learned along the way helps me in what I do today. So I think the biggest piece of advice is to remember that nothing is set in stone. You can change, whether that be your idea, whether that be your career, whether that be your choices in education. You can always make changes.
Yes, that's true. You can make changes in your life. You can make changes in your career, and your experience and guidance bring so much clarity to our audience and to me. Okay, thank you so much. So, could you please tell us that are your future goals? Did you have decided any future goals regarding Carfax College and Carfax education?
Well, my future goals, I don't work for Carfax College or Carfax Education anymore, but my future goals are really all around this mission for widening access to education. So my goal is to give people in all parts of the world access to the highest quality of education. Still to this day, the education that people get is very, very, very different. And I personally believe that education is the door to all opportunity. And I think that that is making the world a difficult place to live. It is getting better. I think it is always getting better, but I think that there is still more work we can do to giving more access to good education and then giving more access to opportunity as a result of that.
Okay, that's good. So, your vision for education is not impressive, it's genuinely meaningful. So, what are you thinking that how do you see technology and AI reshaping tutoring in like next 5 or 10 years?
I think there's a lot of people already using AI tools. And I think there's a lot of talk around how they'll be used. I think for teachers, often people talk about it getting rid of what we call like busy work, getting rid of the report writing or the thing that takes a lot of time but doesn't require a huge amount of skill. Like teachers are very skilled, but they waste a lot of their time, they have to, doing things that don't use their skill, which is really creativity. I think there is an aspect of this. I think there are concerns around how students use it in terms of a lot of people are worried about cheating and things like this. However, I think that AI tools will be the sort of way that people learn. People learn now through Googling things. I think people will learn even more so through AI, but I think that will require a big shift in the way teachers teach because I think the focus will now not be on the answer. The answer will be easy to get. The focus will be on the question. Are we asking good questions? What is a good question? How are we asking unbiased questions? The problem with AI is if you ask it in a certain way, it'll give you different answers. So I think the students will be using it by default as research aid. Teachers will be using it to support themselves and get rid of all this extra time that's being wasted and let them focus on what they do best, which is planning lessons and delivering lessons. But ultimately, I think it's a huge creativity unlock. Like if you use tools like Lovable or Replit, where you can make an app just by telling it what you want the app to do in normal everyday language. I think this, like I was mentioning about ideas, you might have an idea, or your teacher might have an idea about something that could be done better. And all they have to do now is go and speak to AI, and they can make an application that everyone can use. And I think this is the big change that AI and technology will have. I think everyone will be able to generate and test ideas much faster. And if you think about the way evolution works, evolution happens when there's more variation, when there is more differences. And so then the strongest ideas can survive. I think we're about to see the evolution in education because of this. I think more ideas will enter the space and the strongest ideas will survive. And this will truly change education.
Yeah, that's true. Like education, like AI is going, AI and technology is going to change everything in 5 to 10 years. So related to your this talk, I have a question that with online learning increasing, what qualities make a tutor truly impactful?
Oh, good question. I think that online learning, when done right, we still get a lot of parents. So the parents that we speak with, we still get a lot of parents who worry that online learning is more distracting or it's worse. I think when done well, online learning is significantly better. I think if we learn online, we have tools at our disposal. You're in front of a computer, I'm in front of a computer. We have tools and a flow of a lesson that doesn't exist in person. If I have to show you my laptop or project something to the screen, this ruins the flow of an in-person lesson, but not the flow of an online lesson. However, that does come with some caveats. You have to have a student that's relatively focused. It is easy to distract. It's much harder for me as a teacher to control what you're doing on the other side. So that can be a downside of learning online. Not every subject would work well online. Like, for example, we're not going to do drama online or even music. There's certain things that don't work so well online. So it's definitely not a cure-all. But what I find really interesting is if you look at the way the world is changing, the best teachers are all moving online because it makes more sense for them. They can they can impact more people. They can often earn a lot more money, and they have a lot more flexibility in their life. So by limiting yourself to only in-person education, you are limiting yourself to only the teachers that can be in your local area. Whereas if you go online, this opens the door to every teacher on the planet, and the best teachers are moving online. So I think in terms of quality, it's someone who can engage a student, because that is ultimately the biggest trick. If I'm teaching you online and you're clicking on other tabs or watching YouTube on in another tab, then no one's learning anything. So I have to keep you engaged so you don't do that. I also have to understand how technology works. I have to be able to use all the tools at our disposal. The advantage of online is that we have more tools to work together. But if I'm a teacher who doesn't know those tools, then I can't do anything. And then the last thing is it's got to be someone with a lot of curriculum experience, because I think that's to be honest, that's not an online tuition thing. That's just a tutor thing. I think the difference between tutoring and teaching is teaching in a classroom is very structured. It is, we do this on Monday, we're doing this on Wednesday, we're moving through this curriculum at this pace. Whereas if we were doing a tutoring session and you would want to ask me your question, you would say, I don't understand respiration, or I don't understand the digestive system. And I would have to have this all in my head, totally unprepared, to be able to answer your question, which is different because a teacher is working, they already know in advance what they're teaching. A tutor doesn't know, a tutor's just waiting to answer your question. So they have to have a very good knowledge of the curriculum in order to be able to work and give you the advantage of that tutoring gives.
Okay, thank you so much for your great answering and telling us about technology, your education, and your past and future. So, Carl, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and your insights, experience, and dedication to education are truly inspiring. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for coming in my today's podcast, for sharing your journey, your vision for Carfax, and your valuable advice for students. So, everyone, this was today's our amazing guest named Carl. So, thank you, Carl, once again. Thank you for joining us, and to everyone listening, stay curious, keep learning, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.